Welcome back to another episode of the AA Sports Podcast. My name's Art, here with my brother Alex.
What's going on, guys? What's going on?
Alex, big weekend of boxing coming up. We haven't had a fight night like this in a while. So we're excited to jump into it. If you guys haven't checked out our UFC 258 recap, go back and check, or our preview, go back and check it out. If you guys are enjoying the content, please consider subscribing, drop a like, leaving a comment, all that good stuff. All right, let's start right away with Jojo Diaz versus Rakhimov. I forgot Rakhimov's first name, but I went back and watched some of Rakhimov's highlights and past fights. Dude, this is going to be a really good fight.
Yeah, this is a guy that comes to fight.
He comes to fight. He has explosive power. What worries me about Jojo Diaz is that he's not as explosive. He's more of a volume guy. What do you think of Jojo Diaz?
Yeah, I think so. I think we saw that in the Tevin Farmer fight. You know, I think Tevin Farmer, did he injure his hand in that fight?
That's what they say, but they all say that when they have a bad performance.
Yeah, I mean, Tevin Farmer really didn't look good. I mean, I thought he was going to be, they were talking a lot of smack back and forth. It looked like, I don't know, maybe the moment to Tevin Farmer, it just got to him and he did not look good.
Either that or he was hurt.
Yeah, it could be, but it's two guys that are more of volume. They're not really power punchers. So I think in this fight it's gonna be a good fight because Rakhimov comes to fight and this dude can pop.
And Rakhimov has some good counter ability. I was watching his last fight. I believe it was against a South African Fumiles, I think was the guy's name.
I watched that one also.
And the knockout was a beautiful counter left hand. Now, this fight is a fight between two lefties, just like Rakhimov's last fight. And that counter left hand got over the jab and just dropped his opponent really bad, had him hurt, and then eventually he went on to stop him. But Rakhimov was getting hit a lot in that fight also. Yeah. So, and we've seen Jojo Diaz, defensively not be the best. So I think it's going to make for an exciting fight. Two really good styles. I think Jojo Diaz losing the fight to Gary Russell and then, missing weight in his next fight, I think that might have matured him a little bit to be ready for this type of fight. I know people are going to say, well, Rakhimov's not really known. It doesn't matter if he's known or not. Like it's a title fight. So I'm excited for this fight. I think Jojo Diaz has a lot on his plate. But I also think that he has what it takes to defend his title. What do you think about this fight?
No, you know what? I think it's going to be a good fight. Jojo Diaz, is he going to have enough power to keep a guy like Rakhimov off of him?
Get his respect.
Yeah, that's more of a question that I have.
Okay.
But, if Rakhimov doesn't show power, then it looks like Jojo Diaz might just outbox him in every round. What weight is this at?
130.
130. Okay.
Yeah, IBF 130. If I'm not, IBF 130. Wait, no. I'll check that real quick. Moving on to the undercard. We have two really interesting fights on the undercard. Patrick Texiera taking on Brian Castano, the Brazilian super welterweight champion, 154-pounder. In his last fight, won the title, beating Carlos Adames on a top-ranked card. Taking on Brian Castano, who in his last fight beat Wale Omotoso. But he's been on a tear, really. Fought a tough draw against Erislandi Lara. And is really a big deal in Argentina. What do you think of this fight between Texiera and Castano?
No, it's gonna be a good fight. I mean, which one is from Argentina?
Castano.
Castano is from Argentina?
Yeah. Texiera is Brazilian.
Oh, okay. Which one's the one that fought Adames?
Texiera.
Yeah. Man, that was a war. That was a brutal fight. What do you make of it?
Diaz is at 130, sorry.
Okay. Everybody, Jojo Diaz, 130. Okay, right, because he lost to Gary Russell at 126?
126.
Okay.
And then he missed weight and then moved up to 130.
I thought in that fight against Gary Russell, he looked bigger, though, no? He looked bigger than Gary Russell?
Yeah, he was struggling a little bit to make 126.
Oh,
Because
okay.
if I'm not mistaken, he was in the Olympics at 132.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then everybody knows that, in the amateurs, people usually fight, at a higher weight class than they usually do. Yeah. So that's just usually how it is.
So Texiera Castano, I'm really excited for it. Castano has a good boxing style, has some really good power. Just he looks like a pretty polished fighter to me. Taking on Texiera really surprised me in that Adames fight. He came forward, he attacked. I had seen him in the gym a couple times, not before that fight, but before that, sparring with Igis Kavalauskis. And he's a crafty fighter. He's not a bad fighter in the gym. And we saw some of that craftiness in that Adames fight where, I think he threw Adames off just a little bit. But this is a great fight for a super welterweight title. And then also on the undercard, Ronny Rios against Oscar Negrete. Ronny Rios, great, exciting fighter. Had an early loss in his career to Robinson Castellanos. Then came back, challenged Ray Vargas for his title. He lost to Ray Vargas, and then had a big upset loss to Azat Havanesian. He was also on this card. And then he came back and he knocked out Diego De La Hoya.
Yeah, he stopped him.
Yeah, so Ronny Rios is on a 3-fight winning streak, which is good for him. Taking on Oscar Negrete, who we know from the trilogies with Joshua Franco. Always an exciting fighter. Anything you're looking forward to in this fight?
I'm looking forward to if Oscar Negrete is going to be able to take Ronny Rios' power, because Oscar Negrete is moving up in weight, right?
If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
Those trilogies. Wait, those trilogies with Franco were at 118, right?
I believe so, at 118.
Okay. Yeah, because Ronny Rios is no slouch. He's a good fighter. You know what? And he's been through the ringer. He's been through, Ray Vargas. Anybody that has to fight Ray Vargas for a title, it's unfair.
Yeah.
Ray Vargas he's a really good fighter, and he's crafty, tall, long, and he can pop.
Yeah.
So he's not just one of those boring fighters. He can pop. And you know what? When Ronny Rios pulled off that upset against Diego De La Hoya, I don't think that Diego De La Hoya has fought since.
I don't think so either.
No, he fought one fight, but he hasn't fought in like a year already, year and a half. Dang. Almost. Yeah, and even when Diego De La Hoya beat Randy Caballero, remember those were two undefeated guys?
Yep.
Randy Caballero hasn't fought since.
Yeah.
So, sometimes when you get up here, you're up in the rankings and then you take a loss, sometimes you get shelved and you just don't get fights, or maybe something happens and you just lose.
Or you get offered the really bad fight.
Yeah, that could be too. Nobody wants to take a boring fight. Who wants to take a boring fight?
Not only a boring fight, but a very difficult fight for a little bit of pay. Let's be real. Let's call it what it is. Promoters will try to set you up.
So the reward is not worth the risk?
No. A lot of the times, no.
What do you mean promoters set you up? Put him on blast right now. Who is it?
Well, I don't know.
It's Bob Arum, isn't it?
But Caballero was a golden boy. Caballero was a golden boy, but it's Bob Arum. So.
Also, it's Golden Boy doing this.
I didn't say that.
I'm
I
kidding.
Said guys. He was with Golden Boy. All right, so that's one exciting card on DAZN Saturday night. Moving on to ESPN Plus, I believe. No, it's on ESPN. Joe Smith Jr. Taking on Maxim Vlasov was supposed to be the main event, but Vlasov tested positive for COVID on Thursday before the fight, so Joe Smith Jr. got canceled. From what I read in an article, they will try to get him on a top-ranked card coming up soon, Joe Smith Jr., but they have eyes on him against Beterbiev, so if it doesn't happen soon, then I think they're just going to wait till the Beterbiev fight to get Joe Smith Jr. in the ring. As for Vlasov, hopefully he recovers because COVID is no joke, man. It's no joke. So because of that, moving up to the main event is Jackson Marinez versus Richard Commey. And we talked about this fight, me and you, when it was signed, when it was announced a while back. Marinez coming off of a loss that should have been a victory against Rollies Romero, and Richard Commey, coming back after losing his title to Teofimo Lopez, trying to make his claim as still a top contender at 135. What do you think about this fight?
No, you know what? It's a good fight, and I'm glad it got moved up to the main event. It sucks that Vlasov tested positive for COVID. It just, we've seen it time and time again. UFC events been canceled. I mean, but it's never really been the main event, that's been canceled yet. True. I mean, no, actually, I think in the UFC, this is just, to brush up on some COVID. I think Kazmat Chimaev is also out against Leon Edwards. So that was a main event fight, or I think it was a main event fight. And that one's just been canceled. So, this happens a lot in sports, with this pandemic going on. It's a tough time. So, hopefully
Maxim
Vlasov, hopefully he recovers. Everything is fine. And, it does suck for Joe Smith, man, because he's got his regular job. I think he's a construction worker still, right? So, I mean, it sucks. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he wanted to get back in there and scrap.
He did an interview also where he said he hasn't seen his daughter in a couple months. He hasn't seen his family in a couple months because, training camp and COVID. Like, he's got to try to isolate and, make sure he does his training and not get sick and not get anybody else sick. So it's rough. It was rough training camp for him. That video, when I saw his interview, I was like, God damn, that sucks,
Where did he have his interview on? ESPN?
I believe it was on Top Rank's Twitter, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I gotta look that up because I didn't even see that. So he hasn't seen his daughter or his wife for months, and now he's not gonna fight.
I think it was like a month and a half or something like that. Yeah.
You know what? That really takes the cake. Yeah. You're away from your family for months, and then your fight gets canceled. It's like, what the heck? And then guess what? He's gonna have to go through that again when they set this fight up again, or maybe Joe Smith gets another opponent. You have to go through that again.
It's interesting because I feel like sometimes they'll have to move on from opponents because, like you said with Chimaev, like, how do we know he's going to come back 100%? He's not. That's why they canceled the fight, not because he tested positive again, but because he's not 100% after having COVID. Right. So that sucks. But Marinez against Commey, I think is a very underrated fight. Commey, was the IBF champion before losing it to Teofimo Lopez. But we all know Teofimo Lopez right now is the best 135-pounder out there. So Commey losing to him isn't really, it's a little step back, but he could definitely make his way back into contention for a title shot by beating Jackson Marinez, who we saw, pretty much outbox and outclass Romero. And he didn't get the decision didn't go his way, but I think a fight like this, promoter wise, I mean, he was going into Romero's territory and all that stuff. Commey is signed by Top Rank, but at the same time, I feel like he could get a fair shake in this fight should he, try to win a decision.
Okay. Who does Rollies fight for? Does he fight for TMT still, or?
Well, PBC, TMT, they're all together.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, whoever's in charge of that one, somebody needs to say something about Marinez getting robbed in that fight.
Oh, they did. They made.
You know who I need to say something? Floyd Mayweather needs to say something, and I'm gonna tell you why. I get upset because Floyd Mayweather, remember when Badu Jack, when James DeGale beat Badu Jack? Yep. He made like this big press conference, and hey, I'm a fan of Floyd Mayweather, right? I think he's the best to ever do it, right? So, I used to watch his fights from, every fight he fought, I watched it over and over. So, I'm a big fan of Floyd Mayweather. But what I am going to say is that in a press conference when Badu Jack lost to James DeGale, yes. or was it a draw where James DeGale kept the title?
No, I think DeGale beat him.
Oh, did he beat him?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So DeGale beat Badu Jack, and Badu Jack obviously fights for Floyd Mayweather, Mayweather Promotions. And in a press conference, Floyd Mayweather said that he didn't agree that James DeGale won the fight, and that if one of his fighters lost a fight, that he would come out and say, "Hey, you know what? He lost that fight." I have yet to see him say that Rolly's lost that fight.
Maybe,
and that's what pisses me off. Why? Well, I mean, you got to say it.
Maybe he thinks that Rolly didn't lose that fight.
I mean, then you need a new set of eyes. If you thought Rolly's won that fight, listen, Rolly's is out there telling everybody that they need to go out there and watch that fight with no audio. First of all, listen, there's audio for a reason.
There was no fans,
right? I mean, there's no fans. What are you like? What do you mean? I watched that fight. I saw your head get snapped around all over the place. I mean, it just, it gets me upset. It gets me upset.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of videos out there saying that Marinez got robbed. So I'm not the only one. There's a lot of them out there. You want to go, just look up Rolly's Romero versus Jackson Marinez, and I bet you will see at least 6 videos of people saying that Jackson Marinez won that fight.
At least.
Yeah, so you know what? This is what gives boxing a bad name. I'm sick of it.
Yeah. But I'm excited for this fight. Jackson Marinez, I think, is going to get a great opportunity. And Richard Commey has a great opportunity to show that, the knockout, I'm not going to say it was a fluke, but that he's coming back after that knockout. Because I think Commey's a good, exciting fighter. Also in the undercard, Adam Lopez is taking on Jason Sanchez. We've seen Adam Lopez in the bubble a couple times already. Good, exciting fighter. Jason Sanchez has a loss to Oscar Valdez and also to Pitufo Diaz. So, but he's trying to come back and, try to get himself back into contention at 126. Also on the undercard, heavyweight Jared Anderson, who has been, in the bubble a lot since COVID started. And he's had pretty good success. He's also fighting. And you want to feel old? Remember little cash flow?
Yeah, cash flow.
Floyd Diaz, he's making his pro debut.
What?
Yeah.
He's making his pro debut. Isn't he still like 6? 6-year-olds can't make a pro debut?
Nah, he's 18 years old making his pro debut.
Oh, man. I remember when we were training style, Robert Garcia's gym. That was the whole thing. There was this guy named Toques that we had. He was a kid that would go and train at Robert's gym, and then cash flow and them kind of got into like a YouTube, like, they wanted to make the fight and like as an amateur fight, but unfortunately they never got to fight. So
never happened.
Yeah. So, yeah, damn. Yeah. I mean, what was that old, like,
dude?
At least 10 years ago.
Oh yeah. That was a long time ago.
How old is he now?
18.
18. Oh,
18 making his
that had to be at least 12 years ago. Then.
Signed by Top Rank.
Wow, and he got signed by Top Rank. Wow. So that means he had a pretty good amateur record then.
Yeah, he did all right in the amateurs.
Oh, okay.
No Olympic status, but he did pretty good in the amateurs. Yeah, I mean, he was always a solid little fighter.
Yeah.
Just now, time to make the jump to the professional ranks.
Wow, I did not know he was gonna make his pro debut. Yeah. Wow,
I know.
It's crazy.
When I saw that, I was like, "Whoa, this is made me feel old right away."
This is a wake up call, right? This is a wake up call to whatever you got going on. You better do it now, because if not, Cashflow can make win a world title in another, 4 years or something. It's like, oh, then you're real feel old.
Yeah. All right. Well, exciting weekend of fights. Make sure you guys check out our recaps. Coming out, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. One Saturday night after the fights. We'll probably do our UFC recap right after the fights, and then we'll do our boxing recap Sunday morning, or we'll put it out Sunday morning so that there's not 2 videos out at the same time. But thank you guys for watching this episode of the AA Sports Podcast, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Thanks a lot, guys.